She's scared to go back to her dad, and she's upset. She's like super crying, right? I'm feeling bad because I have the whole video where I'm promising her nobody is going to tell your dad, like, everything's going to be okay, like, and then she's talking about she's a survivor. Can you imagine your child talking about she's a survivor? Why would she have to talk about she's a survivor, right? And so that's the same video that, like, now I know he has, and I'm sending my daughter back with him.
Welcome back to Deliver Us, the fight for our children. Today, we bring you the story of a mother fighting a battle no parent should ever have to face. Kasia Duvernay is not just a voice in the wilderness, she is a mother, a protector, and a truth teller, standing in the gap for her daughter, Jemasia. Since 2021, Kasia has watched the family court system, the very system meant to protect children, repeatedly ignore report after report of abuse, emotional trauma, and fear experienced by her daughter while in the father's care. Over 13 CPS reports, including those from mandated reporters, have been filed, and yet custody was stripped from Kasia. Not because she has harmed her child, but because the system chose to ignore the evidence and silence her voice. In this episode, Kasia exposes the negligence, the bias, and the misconduct of social workers, mediators, and minors counsel in Solano and Ventura counties. You'll hear about how crucial evidence was dismissed, how key professionals failed to act, and how her daughter cries for help were suppressed, all while she was painted as the problem. But let me be clear, Kasia is not the problem. She is a mother who has done everything possible, filed every report, submitted every document, and raised her voice for her daughter, even when everyone else tried to silence her. We dedicate this episode to Jemasia and to every child who is still waiting to be heard. And to everyone listening, please don't just listen. Share this episode. Use the hashtag #JusticeForJemasia, and if you can, support Kasia's legal battle using the link in the description. This is bigger than one case. This is a call to accountability. This is a cry for deliverance. Here is Kasia. Kasia, it's really nice to see you. It's really nice meeting you. I appreciate you for coming on the show and being willing to speak your truth, speak what's going on in your life. I know that it could be difficult for people to stand up to corruption like this, to stand up to things like this. Especially in our society today, it's like people judge and they look at people wrong. And, there's always this, it's like this mindset that people have that if like DCS is involved in your life, like you deserve it automatically. And it's like, that's obviously wrong. Right. And that's why I started this podcast, to be able to get your guys' voices heard. And I also have a separate story as well with this, but it's not, I'm not doing it for me. I do it for me in a way because it's healing, but I plan on telling my story eventually, but not right now. But at any moment when you're ready to start to tell your testimony, you could just go in and you could start, like I said, wherever you feel comfortable.
Well, I'm Kasia Duvernay. I'm a mother, a provider, a fighter. I'm a daughter. Jemasia's my daughter. She's my entire world. She's brilliant, creative, resilient. I worked in education, hospitality. I've done community service, not because I was mandated, because I chose to. I've also made sure that I've always taken care of my children, because I have more than Jemasia, but this is the situation where I've done things differently because I didn't have that in my background. And all I can say is I was abandoned as a child. CPS was involved as a child. My dad, who was an abuser, worked out of school. So I used to have to sit, like, be punished, when I was a kid, and go to school feeling like I wasn't nothing and couldn't have a voice. But there are different people that care about you. There are people that, see that you're not that child. Why are you sitting on the red bench? That's where people are punished. You're not that child. So I was able to do a lot of things where I was able to seek safety in education. because I had one teacher that really cared about me. And then, when I was left, all I could say when I was left as a child, that was the best thing that can happen to me, because I still sought safety in school. I had like somebody that was under, the whatever the case. It wasn't my mom, but she left me and I was able to get to middle school on my own. So I did a lot of things without people helping me, and everything that they said that I couldn't do, I have done. Graduated from culinary school, graduated from college, have a business degree. I graduated from the Cordon Bleu. I've, obtained things that I've never had in my life. We grew up in the city. I was able to provide my children with the suburbs, where, and it wasn't easy, and I didn't have any help. But I think that it doesn't matter where you come from or where you're going, it's how you're going to survive, because you don't think that these things are going to happen to you, right? So someone that maybe still be doing things they're not supposed to, and I'm not, it's like, it's not throwing shade. It's the facts that when you're doing everything you're supposed to do, and then people aren't, and then your child is being hurt, not because I say so, but because the system says so. And there are people that are mandated reporters that are supposed to report things, supposed to follow up on things. That's why I'm here today, because that didn't happen. That didn't happen. And out of everything that I've done to show, nothing has shown that I've done anything. And the person that has done something, the one that's been arrested for domestic violence, able to prove it. Why? Because, I went to college and I'm able to report things because that's what I was taught to do. Not like this long, like 30-page, I'm upset. No, this may be 8-page of, this is the law. This is what you're supposed to do. And you didn't do it. Why? Because I reported the mediator, and I didn't report her. I made a complaint, just a complaint. This is what was supposed to be done. You take domestic violence seriously. Here's, 3 different reports that she overlooked, and she's upset because I told the truth about what she was supposed to do. And I'm not a legal student. Understand, I'm just a business administrative student. I have a culinary background, but I am, one thing I like about college, they teach you different avenues. You have to go to, I had to take a legal class. I got a C, okay? Wasn't the thing, but we went through a lot of legal aspects. So when things are illegal, that's things that, as a mandated reporter, not because I say so, California law says that you're supposed to report these things. And at the end of the day, it's not about me. It's not about me, who you don't like, who you're feeling some kind of way about. It's your legal obligation, the California law, which you took a testimony to report any kind of domestic violence, any unsafe situation. There's no way that there's like 13 CPS reports, and these are coming from mandated reporters, not me, mandated reporters. And this is since my child has been like 3, okay? And there's not me just like, oh, I'm recording, I'm in her face. No, I recorded those things because when I did things that I thought were right, like, I'm like, who forces a child to get on a video and cry, and this is legal? I'm just saying, like, is this legal? This is what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to make my daughter. So then I started recording things. I didn't think that it was wrong. I've been recording my daughter since she was a baby, good and bad. So what makes it any different when there's something bad and I'm showing it because nobody's protecting her, and not because I did anything? But, during the pandemic, had, homeschooling and different things. My daughter reported abuse, not to me, to mandate, because I would have to send her. So, and then I was told by an attorney, don't ask her too many questions. Don't do this, don't do that. And then there's some that say, do this, do that. That's not true. Like, the fact of the matter is, if your child is reporting something, you are supposed to file a CPS report. The only thing that looks bad, if it's you doing it. So when I didn't do it and other people are doing it, outside of, I haven't said anything, haven't done nothing, wasn't there, my body is mine, somebody's reporting something, a director. So now we're fast forwarding, he's under criminal investigation. Am I supposed to still send my daughter when people are telling me not to? And I'm following, I don't even think I need an attorney. So there's so many things that I think that when people start making moves, what I've realized is that what I've heard, district attorneys, minors councils, and judges are not your attorney. and you do need an attorney. You just cannot maneuver these situations. And CPS, they only do so much. Things turn different, and I never knew that until CPS got involved when my daughter started preschool and she was reporting things to me. And then I said things and it didn't matter because I said, oh, you got to get an attorney. I said, okay, that's fine. I did need to do that. She started preschool. They reported things. You follow what they say. Maybe a social worker says, don't do this, don't do that. Go to the district attorney in my county. Don't do this, don't do that. Well, all of a sudden, it could be used against you if that person has the ability to get an attorney, file an ex parte. But there is this thing in Ventura County or where we live where it's called 30-day good cause. So I didn't break any laws. I followed exactly what they told me to do. Don't impede the investigation because you both live in two different counties. You have a 30-day good cause where you're like not actually having to send your daughter to her visits. You have to report things within 30 days, which I did. Okay. The district attorney said you don't have to tell them what's going on. You just have to do this. Well, it started to be that like, because we live in two different counties, everything started getting like into a big different thing where, oh, I didn't receive the facts. This guy, this detective, he's taking a vacation. So my daughter's safety isn't the priority because what he told me is the priority. And I have the email. It says that the priority is homicides. The priority is he's taking off. You know what I mean? But I'm going to court. Even the district attorney is saying, hey, this mom might lose her rights by following all the rules from when not what she reported, what school officials reported, what she was told to do by CPS. Once the law gets involved, CPS is no longer able to really contact anybody or talk to anybody because now it's an investigation. Okay. Well, when your child is younger and, you know, it's been a period of time and now she gets sent with a dad who now has found out that he's under criminal investigation when he didn't know, and you follow all the rules and the judge says, hey, now you're going to have to just send her. I don't know if this is true. I got the transcripts, right, to say that everything I'm saying is what I'm saying. And now she's going to go with her dad after 4 months of finding out he's under criminal investigation for sexual abuse and physical abuse. The first weekend my daughter goes to her dad, she comes home with a bump on her head. First week. And so the judge said that basically he made the rule since he had missed some time, week on, week off. First week she's there, she comes home with a bump on her head. Okay. She still has not been talked to by the detective, and he still has just now barely found out after 4 months that he was under criminal investigation. I followed all the rules, everybody's rules. And the only thing that changed is the day that we went to court, the visitation changed because I had full custody. I had everything. He was coming out here. And now, because I followed someone else's rules, I followed district attorney, I followed detectives. Now, during the time he's under criminal investigation, right? For those things, she still hasn't been seen by a detective. She still hasn't been talked to. He still doesn't know what's going on. And he has not responded, which I have. And there is multiple cases with law enforcement that he did not respond to that were basically domestic violence cases, including a felony one, in which the same the same mediator knew about these things during the time that she decided to make changes because I filed a complaint. When my daughter came back with the first head injury, she was already in counseling. Okay. So we have now we have her in counseling. She went there. There's a therapist, a social worker, law enforcement. She's come back with a head injury. A lawyer. And it's not because I said so, because even when they saw her and the therapist actually taught her to call 911, private session, she taught my daughter to call 911. This is the kind of stuff where if you're ignoring it, now we're talking about private sessions, multiple mandated reporters, and I'm only taking my daughter to these appointments, picking her up and dropping her off, taking her to, so when she finally went to the detective, this is after she had 2 head injuries. We have a doctors, 2 doctors that filed CPS reports. We have another police report outside of the other police reports. How does this keep on happening? And it's not me. I'm not doing anything. Everything that I could show, from Kaiser to the emergency room to the times where now we're talking about, let's fast forward to a year and a half later. Now she's had over three head injuries. And then he gets arrested. Okay. He gets arrested for domestic violence. Okay. Police reports confirm not only did the partner have a head injury that was visible to officers, so did his older daughter. Okay. So this is after now Jamaica's had 4 head injuries, and now we're talking about 2 that have had head injuries also. And then during that time, we're going through a custody case, and now we have a minors counsel involved, right? Because of the situation. I give her this information, and now she's all of a sudden telling me, well, I don't know if Jemasia was there. And I said, well, Jemasia told me about it. I'm giving you a police report number. I gave social service a police report number. And now, if we want to talk about it really, Jemasia's been in counseling since that time, since 2021 up until 2023 under me, okay? And she's had 2 separate therapists that are like through the court, basically a court recommended place that has seen Jemasia. 2 separate counselors have filed, and they're mandated reporters, they're abuse trauma, like they're specialized counselors that have basically reported domestic violence and filed between the 2 7 CPS reports. How does that happen? Not just because I say so, because of head injuries, visible injuries. I've given the court progress notes. Only thing that I'm doing is that when someone hasn't done something, all I'm doing is saying I'm filing a complaint. I'm submitting it to the court, to someone's supervisor. But the things that have happened, I can tell you, it goes deeper than just, this is kind of like, it seems like a long scenario, but it's a long drug out process because I don't have an attorney. And when I did have an attorney, I had one for a period of time, just a very short period of time. When I realized that the 2 were friends and he wasn't submitting documentation, the fact is this: the minors counsel said, I don't need an attorney. She said, you have everything working with you. This same minors counsel was my grandson's attorney when I had guardianship of him for over 3 years, since he was a baby. So this person knows me. She says I'm a good parent. She says this and she says that, but because he has a stronger attorney, because I filed a complaint against a meter who she works with. This is like all like internal things that people are doing. So I know I've talked a lot. So, I mean, I think it's like trying to give a big overview of the fact that all these CPS reports, all these things that have happened, they're documented not because of me, through courts, through hospitals. The police reports are basically filed by the hospitals. I have pictures. Yes, I do have videos. There's a video where I sent the social worker a video. Jemasia did not even know that I was recording her. I just was taking a picture of her head, but it was recorded. I told her nobody's going to say anything. And this person turned around and said something, sent the dad the video. So by the time she had the interview with Jemasia, she was in front of the dad and the dad had the video already. And it's on my, like, yes, I did get reprimanded. Yes, I put this all on blast on social media. What else can I do to save my daughter? Maybe it wasn't right.
Asia,
I didn't know that I could.
Can you take us back to the day everything changed? What triggered all of this? What triggered the court's involvement?
What triggered the court's involvement was that during the time that Jemasia started preschool, that's what triggered the court's involvement, because when Jemasia started preschool, we went to basically like some kind of, they were just talking to Jemasia, talking to our family. There was a gentleman that basically was a male teacher, and that's what started everything, because when she said, well, my dad plays Sickle Monster in my private area, and you can't take me to the bathroom. This is something that came out. We're just having like some kind of like introduction of what's going to happen. And he says, when I take you to the bathroom, I'm meeting with people, she's meeting with people. That's where everything got started. Like the custody order was already in place. He came every other weekend to me. I had full custody of Jemasia. Nothing was in question. He had domestic violence, and that's why there was the same mediator that made the recommendation is the reason why things were in place. So when things changed, the only thing that changed is I filed a report against her. But when the custody issue started to change was after that happened, because then a social worker got involved. Like there was 2 meetings with the school. There was one in person, and then there's another time when a teacher came over, and that's when things changed. That's when everything started to change, because the first 2 things were when she reported that. So there's like multiple CPS reports going through, but the one where she went to the school, that's when the social worker came. And then not long after that, so the social worker is now still involved. They're looking at possibly a criminal case. A month or so later, they have a My Body is Mine. I'm not there. It's called My Body is Mine. They do this thing, and then Jemasia talks about something about her dad playing Tickle Monster, her dad basically putting diapers on her. She's way too old for diapers. She already is potty trained, right? So the school is involved now. This is not this is like not just me meeting at the school now. This is me not being there, and she's saying the similar things that so let me just backtrack one thing. We have a court app, and it's called Talking Parents, okay? And in Talking Parents, you're supposed to put everything through there. There was a time when he said, I'm not comfortable talking on Talking Parents. And what I told him, and I have the text message, Jemasia keeps coming home saying her private parts hurt, she's itching and stuff like that, right? I'm just saying, it's nothing that she's going through here, and I said, I just want to get her into counseling. She's very smart. His response was, I don't play that shit. Instead of saying, you don't know, I'm not with anybody, you don't know who I'm with, but hey, how about let's get her in counseling, right? Isn't that the normal response of like, why not, right? And so another time that I talked about it, it's in Talking Parents too. They all have this, where I said, I want to talk about something. Well, I just rather talk to you in person. Let me talk to you in person. So we're talking in person, and it's the same thing. You're telling me that something is happening, but there's nothing. And then I got this on Skype. So he keeps on taking it out of the app. So when everything starts going out of the app, which I don't encourage, keep everything in the app, nothing outside the app, document everything, talk to as many people, talk to as many attorneys, do all that, because then you can say, I've talked to this attorney, that attorney, because sometimes not to talk to that attorney again, but at least you've talked to them, because I think, I believed in the system to the extent where I was following everything. I didn't report anything. I tried to work with him even when there was things that were questioned, were difficult. And then now we have, like, years later, because I've now reported things, Jemasia's had injuries. Nothing could show anything different except that I didn't report any of this stuff. These are mandated reporters, and mainly they were her therapists, doctors. That's all the same thing. That could say, like, there was one time when I took her to the doctor for a head injury after he had her like saying it was this or was that, and I took her to the doctor, and they're saying, no, we're not going to do a CAT scan because this happened before. This happened a couple days before. This is like the week on and week off thing. There's nothing under me. There's nothing in the courts against me to say I'm a bad parent. There's nothing in CPS to say I should not have her. But at one point in time, it looked like there was, but there wasn't. And that's where CPS gets corrupt.
So let me understand this. So the father is abusive, abusing Jemasia, and is sexually abusing her. And the court is still allowing this to happen, and still allowing the father to be the father. And they're reversing it onto you and making you the bad person in this situation?
Because I withheld a visit. Yep. Because I did. So yes.
Well, that's a violation of your rights. So
I know.
Because you withheld, but they're still allowing what's going on with the father to happen, right?
So during the time, so if we go back to 2023, right? During that time, so she has a minors counsel, and there was a social worker. So there were 3 reports put in against the dad. Okay. In the beginning of the year, a head injury, which I have pictures of, which I have documentation of, which even doctors, and that's one of the times where they said they're not going to do the CAT scan because the head injury happened prior to her being with you. They said that. They said, we're not going to do it. And I talked to the social worker. I let her know. I mean, now, I'm not going to get too spiritual. All I can say is I've been teaching Jemasia scriptures, truth and honesty. And even, one of her first scriptures, be obedient to your parents, Ephesians 6:1, for sure. Okay. But we're talking about now something completely different where if you're witnessing domestic violence, if bad things are happening to you, and she says she's confirmed, I have it. My dad told me not to tell you, but I'm going to tell you because I am going to tell you the truth. Now, I'm not saying, Jemasia, what's going on? If your daughter comes home with a head injury, first of all, I didn't even know when in the beginning of 2023, when she came home with that head injury, I have like documentation that I have not submitted to the court where I could, if you ever say, I don't know about putting Kasia's podcast because I don't know everything that she's saying is true, I could send you the videos,
I
the
trust you.
dates, and everything where I'm saying
I can hear it.
Like when
I can hear it in your voice. I can feel it in your spirit. I trust you. It's not. There's nothing like that.
But when she's had head injuries, she comes back in a certain way. So we meet. So he lives about 6 hours away. So we've been mandated by the court to meet like 3 hours. Anytime something's been very strange, her dad always says, I'm going to be in town, or something where she's scared. She hears cars. She's crying. Mommy, don't drive. So I've literally sat in the car. I told myself, I'm not going to do this. Sat in the car trying to be calm because I know her dad and I know how it feels to be scared, to be hit in my head. I know that. I know how that feels. And this is our time, right? I want to go home. And to it's not just crying. It's like your daughter wailing, being very, very sad. And it's just I'm scared to sometimes do something because I know that I'm sending her back because this is what it is. We're going back and forth. But to think that this is what your daughter is suffering. She's trying to tell you what you need, and then you're trying to fight for her, but because you don't have maybe the means, because I am not with somebody, or I am in a different place. He's where he's at. He might own it. I rent it. And I have this home where I'm trying to make sure my daughter has the same thing that I've never had, but a safe place. And to see her in that situation, have to sit there and have to think, because now been reprimanded by the court for doing certain things, it confuses me too. What's the right thing to do? And it's Jemasia is so when I think about her dad hitting her, and it's not like she's I have other children. All I can say is she is not the kind of child. There's videos where she's put herself on timeout. She's so smart. She's not disrespectful. The only thing I see is anxiety, or now being in the care of her dad, where she's experienced different things, but not all I can say is that the things that have happened to her, she has not deserved to happen to her. And the things that her dad has done is only because he knows me and he knows my background. He knows I was a foster child. He thinks I don't have that support, or maybe he thinks that I don't have what I have to give back to my children, but I do. And I have. And he's the only one. And I'm not knocking someone for being in prison or making mistakes, because that's what happens. But I think when you use children, against someone, or you're doing things why would you hit Jemasia in the head? She's never had head injuries here. Why would you? And I guess I can't.
He's abusive.
I can't ask why. Yeah, and it's
He's
not just
probably a
me.
narcissist.
So now we know. and it's happened to his daughter, to his girlfriend. Like there's so many things. Like there's so much proof, and it's just nothing that it's
Well,
on file. It's on file.
the system is corrupt. So what seems like is going on is that they're allowing it, because here's the thing about that I've learned about DCS is that they take the families that are good and they tear them away and they put them in bad homes, or they keep the bad homes alone and let it keep happening. Because that's the whole point of Satan's agenda, right? It's a new world order. It's to raise our kids broken, wanting to go from a boy to be a girl, wanting, to have sexual morality. I mean, it's an agenda there to push that specifically. So I respect you a lot for sharing the scripture with your daughter and teaching her these things. I mean, that means a lot. You know what I mean? And obviously these people are going to try to take that from you. That's the whole point. It's Satan. This is what Satan wants. You know what I mean? This is his agenda. I understand what you're dealing with. I really do. So I got a question here. It's kind of it says 13 CPS reports, several from mandated reporters. Why do you believe none of them mattered to the system?
That haunts me every day. And you know what? Instead of them thinking about me, I have the California law quoted. Instead of treating those things like as red flags, CPS has ignored and downplayed everything that they should have done. And why have they downplayed it? Because if there's been 13 CPS reports and they have ignored them and they haven't done anything and they haven't contacted any collateral contacts, they've only been one-sided. What I can say is this: if I only can quote maybe the three that were under investigation during a time when we went to court and it made a big difference. Let's go back to 2023 when Jemasia had her head injury. Okay. She was in therapy, back and forth between me and her dad. It wasn't a school time. There was a social worker involved. I told her my religion. I told her I teach Jemasia not to lie. The first time I talked to her, she basically asked me, why are you telling her dad that you took her to the hospital? And I said, it's a court order. You have to tell, when our court order is, if you take him to the hospital, you have to tell him. And I said, but she had a head injury. So I had to do that. I said, but I didn't tell him that I took her to the hospital for a head injury, because that wasn't the only thing that I took her to the hospital for. Because, when you have a concussion, you have stomach aches, throwing up, you could have any of that, right? Well, when I called the hospital, they said, you could have stomach aches, and so bring her in. So I brought her in. From that time, when they talked to her, then it came to me. They said, fill out a form. They called. They were not letting us leave. They would not do a CAT scan on her at that time because they said this head injury happened prior. I talked to law enforcement. They are the ones that filed a report, and I didn't talk to them first. They talked to Jemasia first. So then I have the social worker calling me and saying, well, why are you telling him what's going on? I said, well, I have to. That's part of the court order. If I don't follow the court order, I said, I've already been reprimanded for not following the court order. So I'm going to tell him what's going on, as far as I took her to the hospital. We're going to be a little bit late. Did that. Didn't talk to her after that. That's the first time I talked to her. Second time I talked to her, she said, well, what do you think is going on? And I told her the history. I said, I have reports. I have different things that you're just coming now involved. I said, but this is after my daughter's had head injuries, before she was talked to by detectives. So there's a lot of things that have happened the social worker doesn't know. So whatever the case, talked to her. That's the second time I talked to her. Never talked to her again. What did happen is that during that time, she was saying, oh, I'm busy. I haven't been able to talk to Jemasia. I sent her the video. I sent her the pictures I sent her everything. And then I met with the Minors Council the same day. And then I get a call from her saying, you told Jemasia to lie. and this and that. And I said, what are you talking about? And she said, well, you told her to say that her dad hit her in the head. I said, no. And then she says, well, I met with her. And I said, well, where did you meet with her? Well, I met with her at her dad's house. And I said, okay, so you met with her at her dad's house. Why would you do that when I already told you that he has cameras throughout his house? So do I. She says, well, you know what? If you're lying, I'm going to put emotional abuse against you. And I said, I have the police report. I said, have you not obtained the police report? I have a heavy caseload. And I said, well, I told her my religion. And I said, I'm a Christian. I've taught Jemasia scriptures. I can show you that. I said, and also, I don't know why you would tell well, I had to tell the dad. I had to tell the dad what was going on. I had to tell the dad that she said that she had a head injury and that it was him. And I said, that's not what you're supposed to do, because that's a breach of confidentiality. You're not supposed to do that. Well, you know what? If I find out that there's no police report, because Jemasia said that she never talked to police. I said, but there's a police report that says she did. Do I need to send that to you? I said, I could send you the report number. I could send you everything from the hospital that I got. I said, I'll do that. And I did that. Sent everything. Never heard from her ever after that. Never heard from her at all. That's the last time. In April, I sent her a message, and this is after now we go to a custody exchange. Okay. Now, unbeknownst to me, so Jemasia, a week on, a week off. That's what it is. That's our custody arrangement. But I always have Jemasia in custody. I always have like Jemasia in counseling. So every time that I get Jemasia, every week we go to meet with her counselor. And as soon as we get back, because it's a 3-hour drive, she goes straight to her counseling session, because that's what the terms were. If she's not, in your care full time, every time you have her. So it's like when we come back, because it's a weekend, we come back, she meets with her counselor. She met with her counselor. She met with her counselor in March. When she met with her counselor in March, private sessions. I don't go into her sessions. Only time I go into her sessions is when she's upset and he invites me into her sessions. She reported domestic violence. Okay. Not me. I didn't know it. Didn't know anything. Haven't talked to the social worker. In April, we go to a custody exchange, and basically we're meeting at a police station. Me and her dad barely talk. And I guess maybe this is when the CPS report was open, because it was towards the end of March. When I get to the custody session, to the exchange, he is going off. He's upset with me. He's upset with Jemasia. He's yelling and screaming. And this is on one of the videos that I have out there. And I only did the back end part, but the front end part is where he says CPS is saying you're sending CPS pictures. And so the only way that he could have known, because when I took the pictures of Jemasia's head in January, I was taking a picture, but it was like recording. And Jemasia said, are you recording? I said, if I'm recording, I said, it's not, nobody's going to get to it. I said, it's just pictures. There's no way that he would have known that I was recording, but he wouldn't have known that, but she told him that. And so now Jemasia's getting yelled at. I'm getting yelled at. And so there's one that's on her, on her profile right now. It's at the end where now she's scared to go back to her dad, and she's upset, and she's like super crying, right? And I'm feeling bad because I have the whole video where I'm promising her, like, nobody is going to tell your dad, like, everything's going to be okay. Like, and then she's talking about she's a survivor. Can you imagine your child? Like, can you imagine your child talking about she's a survivor? Why would she have to talk about she's a survivor, right? And so that's the same video that, like, now I know he has, and I'm sending my daughter back with him 3 hours where she said he drinks and drives. She's told the minors council this. She's told the social worker that. And because I filed a complaint, this is how you're going to use my daughter against me. So mind you, now I'm still saying January, complaint filed within 45 days of anything filed by any mandated reporter. If there's a case that's going to be open in California, they're supposed to let you know if they're going to extend the case. I never heard back from the social worker, okay? March, never heard that even a case was open, okay? And never heard that the basically that the therapist filed a CPS report. Never heard that. All I did was that day when he came back and he was so upset and he's saying, I heard you're sending CPS this or that, right? This was towards the end of March, beginning of April. He went off of me and I had to send Jemasia back. So I told the social worker, I know you said something. I have the text message I sent her, only sent her two. I'm going to take legal action and I'm going to file a report against you. That's all I said. But then during that time, we're going through things and I was going through the process. Solano County Services sent me this form, sent it. Nobody ever did anything. Sent it, encrypted, sent it. Nothing happened. Then again, Jemasia's in therapy with the same counselor until July. He filed another CPS report. So there's two CPS reports that have been filed that I have been contacted about, and then there's three that are open. Again, against 45 days, nothing, because if it's open past 45 days, they're supposed to contact you, one, to tell you one is open or tell you that they're going to extend it. Nothing. Heard nothing. I didn't even know that there was the second or third open until I talked to the therapist. So then in September, Jemasia tells me about a domestic violence situation. I tell the mediator, I tell the social worker, I tell everybody, haven't heard from anybody, haven't heard from nothing. I go to court, and in October, I lose my parental rights. I have emotional abuse. Haven't heard from nobody. I'm working now. I'm working at my college. My college I graduated from, understand me, I'm graduating from this college. And I have emotional abuse charges. That's what the mediator says. The reason why they take my rights, okay? Well, guess what? CACI is supposed to have that. I'm supposed to have something in writing. I get something November 6th saying I have 2 allegations of emotional abuse, okay? This is during a time that there is a domestic violence case open against the dad for abusing 2 people in his home. 3 CPS reports that were open that were all of a sudden closed right before court, and I have no knowledge of the 2, haven't been contacted about the other, never a 45-day, and everything that they say to protect the child, there's nothing, okay? Now, I lost my job. I lost my job because I couldn't reapply with a college because I was in the athletics department. I'm recruiting people. I'm working with college people. I lost my job. One, I lost my sanity at that point because I'm like, how does this happen, right? And she did not report the open case of domestic violence that was still a case open, which I have proof of. The case did not close with the district attorney until December. Now, just because nobody reported it, just because he wasn't convicted, minors counsel, social worker, mediator, they had that information in September. I have that information. Now, how did I have that information? I was still in school during that time. I was still pursuing different things in my degree. And so I was actually working on a project, and Jemasia told me about this. It was September 1st. And when she got in the car, same video, have it. She didn't even know I was recording, told me about it. So then I was able to call the police department because she was so traumatized. She was like, how do I know that Aaron has more than 9 lives? I'm worried. Like this, she's telling me this. I gave it to everybody. They had everything. And when my rights got took, blindsided. I couldn't even, basically, I could not reapply for my job because I do a live scan. If you have anything, right? If you have anything, they can't put me in the budget because if you do a live scan, it's going to come up that you have something. CACI will report it. I had nothing. I had to now I lost my job. Now I lost my custody. No, lost my complete custody. And so now I had to figure out like multiple months going through it. CACI finally came back. Nothing's against you. Then I had to go back to social services and I said, how did this happen? How was this a miss? How did you guys miss? Now, I didn't have the police report because that's private, right? Because I'm not on it. But I had a police report number. I gave them that in September. September 1st, pretty much the minors council got it.
September 13th, the mediator got it. When we went to mediation, the mediator, and so there is some recordings, including from the minors council, who says, and she already knows, my whole house is recorded. She said she already knew that. She knew that when she talked to me. She says she doesn't know why she didn't report domestic violence, why she didn't move on things. Not only did he do that, he took my daughter out of state twice, and that's against the court order too. I haven't broken the court order at all. So why is this being used against me? What have I done? So I had to meet with social services. I had to actually go out there. I had to tell them, I'm going to be a protester. I'm going to sit in your office every day. I have multiple calls, emails where I have a cousin, thankfully, that lives not too far from there. I said, I will be in your office every day until someone meets with me. They finally met with me. When they finally met with me is the only time that the minors council decided to do something. This was October, November, December, January, February. Okay? That I finally got a note from them to say, no, it's not unsubstantiated. It was not unfounded. She didn't do her job. And I've submitted multiple complaints, including until this day, to California Child Protective Services, where it's a CC or whatever. I have it, where they still have not responded to me about why she was able to get away with doing this. When I told her this, it is discrimination, it is misconduct, and nothing has happened. And all they say is, well, we took care of it internally. I have multiple emails. I can show you anything. But the fact of the matter is that the only time that I got any action from that minors council, and she submitted an ex parte, which should have been to remove Jemasia because I had nothing against me. And there was a domestic violence where there was a descriptive police report. He hit people in the head. He was under the influence, which is against our court order, right? Against our court order, under the influence, against the court order. He resisted arrest, but two people, not just my daughter being hidden, but two people, his daughter and his girlfriend, had head injuries, multiple injuries. Okay? So how does that happen?
Neglect, abuse. And then you also have a system that doesn't care. You have a system that is broken, right? And they tear down the good parent and build up the bad parent. So how have you kept going through all this, the grief, loss, and the systemic betrayal? How have you kept pushing forward through all this?
Fighting every day, learning the laws, going back and making sure that they know that I'm still figuring it out. And every time they know I'm still figuring it out, they know I'm still there. And Reggie I think he's from the California State Bar, he was like, oh, you need to go into law. I'm not doing this to be right, to win money. I'm doing this because this is not right. This is not right. It's not, like, honestly, it's very hard to sleep. It's hard to eat. It's hard to think. It's hard to survive. And the only time I could think of that is when I think about Jemasia, and I think about what I don't have any more siblings anymore, right? So I'm thinking about what people didn't do for me, and all I can do is continue to fight, because nobody's going to do that for you. And I think that if anybody gets complacent to think that it's going to change, or it's going to be something different, or if you just, enough people let it happen, no, I don't believe that. Every day I get up looking up laws. I can't sleep. I feel bad. I get up and I try to figure it out. I try to figure it out. There's no way that, like, some places, and I get it, that's why I just hate where she's at right now. There's just some places they're not going to do that. Nobody's going to fight harder than you are. And and some people that haven't done it, they don't understand. So sometimes your support systems, they're probably limited. Well, you just gotta, it's like, it's not how it turns out, because I think that's what's messed up.
That's why my sister is dead. That's why my brother is dead. That's why my other brother's in prison. It's like, there's no autopilot. You got to keep fighting every day. You got to keep figuring out, instead of like maybe some negative moment where you think you can be complacent, or you think something's going to change, or you're waiting for the system to do something, or you're thinking some appointed person got into to the position of protecting the situation or the child. No, that's not anybody's position. That's your position. And that's what keeps me going, because I know that's not going to happen. And it's not necessarily like, no, it's not my fancy place, my fine place. It's what I feel I need to do, because I don't have no existence for no reason except to just do better than what has been done for me.
What would you say to the judge and to the people who silenced you and failed you and your daughter?
Well, I did say one thing or two things to the judge. What if this was your children? Would this be the same situation? Would your kids have to go through this? Would their voices be silenced? Is it because, maybe it's not the money, the legal representation? Is this how it works because people don't have legal representation, or maybe they're not fully, aware of what the law is? And because I am, and I have a voice, because I've made complaints, not file reports, not trying to get anybody in trouble, but is this the way that and I have said this, and I have said this in court. I said this in court to two different judges, and I don't even understand what they don't understand, because it's not a threatening thing, but I'm pretty sure if this was their situation, this is but what I can say, that's not what you do. You don't question a judge. You don't ask them questions. It's not your position unless you have an attorney, because that's why you have an attorney. So when you do those things will be used against you. You can't, basically, you have to sit there so you're going to be judged either way, though. That's a fact, because I've done both. Emotionless, sit there, know what I'm right in, no emotions, and then emotions, and it's still going to be the same thing. The unfortunate thing is, and I heard this from the district attorney way back when in 2021, Andrea Regan, who actually approved of me keeping my daughter from her dad when he was under that criminal investigation, and she really did have my back. Have all the emails where she's sending it to the detectives. Mom's probably going to lose her rights if we can't bring this to the court, to the same office that's investigating the dad. And what she told me is that if you do not have an attorney, your voice will not be heard. She said, I know the law. I am in this situation of knowing people, and I still would not show up without an attorney. And that's messed up, because that's not everybody's position. You have to know how to do paperwork, which I have done. Some of my paperwork has worked for me. It definitely has, because I've done a lot of things when I knew that my attorney wasn't doing things. But the fact of the matter is that you really do need to have a voice, and your voice is not going to be heard unless you have legal representation, because they know the laws. And as much as you can quote the law or how you feel, probably no matter how much you say, I'm not going to go into their emotions or anything like that. It's not the case. It's your child. And that's what attorneys get to go in there and do. And so with that, I could just say there's no way to really fight the system without having legal representation. And I feel for anybody that's been in a situation where they have done the best they can because they believed it, because outside sources like the district attorney gave me advice, detectives gave me advice, social workers gave me advice, and guess what? They don't pay my attorney bills. And if they did, maybe I wouldn't be in this situation.
What would justice look like for Jemasia? Oh, sorry.
Justice would look like for Jemasia is that when you hear your child saying she's going to kill herself at a young age, outside of her believing that if I can't save her, I'm going to kill myself, that probably is not the best thing you ever want to hear from your child, right? Especially because now I've lost a sister. And justice for Jemasia is not having to do what we have had to do as children and accept abuse as a normality. or accept that a parent's not going to do something for me. I'm never going to stop fighting. I don't care what her dad says. I don't care what anybody says. I don't care how much I lose. I have taken out so many things to try to fix the situation. And all I can say is it is a lot, because somebody that's in a situation of fighting when they're doing something wrong can do that. But when you're fighting to do something right, it costs a lot more. And so, how much ever it costs me, justice for Jemasia, just making sure that she has the peace that she needs, the childhood that she should have, the happiness that I know that she brings, her being able to just like not have to like, I know how it feels to kind of like always have to withhold things or be a certain way because you're going to get hit or because you can't be safe. So for her to be free, that's justice for Jemasia. That's for her to live and show that she's been through a lot of things, and maybe not everybody can do what she's done, but she's been very brave. And I understand, as much as she can be brave, she can also get hurt for being brave. And that got brought up in court too. And I was like so sad, because when she left those videos, she believes that this is going to be her last time. When she's done things, she's like, Mommy, I know you're doing everything, and I want to be home, and I'm scared, So a child shouldn't have to live in fear. A child should not have to live in a situation where she's constantly so worried about court things or our things. Her thing should be, as I've always told her, and I have a million videos where I've told her, what's your job? To be a kid, to just worry about school things, to just like be happy. This is stuff she should not have to worry about. She should be okay. But I think that you could wake up in a situation and have things, because I felt that too. My mom wasn't the worst person. I wasn't like in the projects before I was, but we had things, but we were waking up unsafe, waking up being hit, waking up to violence, waking up to trying to have to save, a sister, a brother, a mother, And so Jemasia should not have to wake up to that. Jemasia should be able to be a kid. That is her justice, her being a kid, being able to be reunited with people that make her feel safe. She has one sister that talks like super crazy to her all the time. And I'm like, I get it. People are like from different places, but Jemasia's like a very much so different. She's very talented. She's smart, outspoken, not disrespectful, but she knows a lot of things. And I don't think that it should stop her from being like in the best position she can be in, because she's smart, because she has so many things. And I don't necessarily want to take her from her dad. I just think that there should be modifications, because she should not have to live through domestic violence. She shouldn't have to worry every day about people. She shouldn't every day have to worry about in her life how she's going to make it, or if she's going to make it, or if her dad is going to hurt her. And so I think that she should have peace. She'd be able to go to sleep and be a kid. She should just be happy. I think that's what kids should be. Happy, not worried about things, in a safe situation, nurtured, feeding on all their talents, enhancing them if you can, supporting them, loving them, saving them, protecting them. That's what should happen.
For the women going through something similar, what do you want them to know?
Just never stop fighting. It does sometimes seem like a losing battle. It does. It seems like a losing battle, but the only way you lose is if you give up. And there's no way that, if your child means so much, and if everything you know has been right. I know everything that I've done has been right. I have the laws, I have everything, still fighting, still keeping up. I think the fact is, sometimes people, you'll talk to the wrong attorney, the wrong person, but then if you start looking at your laws in your state, you start doing the extra work at the times when you're down or you feel like it's hopeless, you'll start seeing that you're right. And then when you get a confirmation from that, and for me, I don't need a lot of confirmation, because I know people and I could go back and I could say this is right or that is right. But I think the fact of never giving up, and always like, when you feel stressed, you can't sleep at night, and you get up and you know, like, my fight is right, I can't sleep. Yeah. So now get up and do something about it. Look up that next attorney, look up that next law, look up how you're gonna figure it out, look up how you're gonna keep your child safe, look up what your rights are because you have a lot of them. And then don't go for those people that say, oh yeah, I can help you. Sometimes a lot of the things that you can do is self-help. And then you know what? I guess in some time when you're going through all this, you have to take some time to just get away, stop, and go to a place where you're calm, where you have peace, where you can think. And for me, that's the beach. It's just like in this moment, I need to just like, because that's what I do constantly. I'm waking up, I'm thinking, I'm waking up, I'm thinking, figuring things out. I hear Jemasia, I'm with Jemasia. And then all of a sudden, it's just like you need that peace. So I think that you have to take that time, you know, like when Jesus went to the wilderness for 40 days, you know, you can't go for 40 days, but you do need to go to your wilderness where you can get some peace, you can get some serenity, you can get some thought process. Sometimes you have to pray out of your mind to just have peace. And that's what you need to do for that moment, for that 30 minutes, 60 minutes, and not feel guilty about it. Because sometimes I feel guilty about it and I'm like, and I'm like, but I've done so much. And so sometimes that 60 minutes turns into an hour. And then I'm like, okay, no, an hour and an hour. So it's 2 hours. You're sitting there and you're listening to the waves and you're thinking, and all of a sudden you're not thinking about anything. You just get that peace. And sometimes it takes about 2 hours to just get that peace. So you need to take some time to go to the wilderness, to go to pray, to think, to stop and not feel guilty. Pray about not being guilty. And that's why it takes about 2 or 3 hours. This first hour, you'll probably feel guilty. But when you get there, just not to think about anything. And that's sometimes what I have to do, even in the middle of the night. I'm like so worried. I wake up and then all of a sudden, you know, it's just like, just keep praying for peace. Peace beyond all understanding, you know. Philippians, you know, 4, 6,
Yeah,
and 7.
Satan tempted him during that time too.
I think. Oh yeah, no, he's always going to be there. He's actually the one that's going to say you can't do this. You're tired. You're failing. You know, he's always going to be there. That's what he did to Jesus, right? He thought in Jesus' weakest moments he can come to him, and he had to try multiple times, right? But that's kind of the thing that we have to expect, that there's going to be trying. I could say, if I'm going to go do oh no, that's not what you should do, or shouldn't you be doing something else? Kind of nothing, and nobody can tell you what you prayed for, what you know is the right thing to do, and when you know you've done the right things. And you just have to focus. Sometimes, as much as somebody's advice is great, but what you know you need to do for yourself is good. Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. I think it depends on the person. But I think in this kind of battle, you have to take a break. You have to step away. I remember when there was a change made and I just couldn't think about it. And then I have somebody there, it's a person, and it's a family member, and it's somebody that I like, I love them. And I'm like, I don't know you, but I know you, but I know what you're going to say. And then I'm just like, don't want to hear about it, but I think I know what the best thing to do is. Let's go to the beach. And the beach was the best thing I could do because it kind of gave me that strength. It gave me that moment to accept, to think about like how I'm going to move forward. It doesn't matter what they're going to say. It's just kind of like, and that person actually went to sleep on the beach. I'm like, okay, well, this is good, right? We were on the beach for a long time. And like, all I can say is that a lot of things that you can do for yourself in these situations are going to be things that people are going to be able to tell you during those times. Nobody's going to be there at 4 o'clock in the morning when you wake up and you want somebody to tell you, hey, it's going to be okay. It's not going to be that. It's you telling yourself it's going to be okay. What can I do? And the next time you do that, I think after so many times of doing that, you need to take a break. You need to go somewhere where you can just rejuvenate, where you can pray, not just in your bed, not just to be okay for the next situation, not just to be okay for the moment, somewhere where it's away from everything that you're experiencing and trying to like just trying to be okay for you, not for the situation, because the situation is going to be there. And I think I've had to learn to separate that. Sometimes I'm like, oh, he got arrested, he got this, he got that. Oh, looking him up. No, it's not going to fix anything. How do you fix things? You fix things by being able to have like a good position, to understand what you're doing, to know how you're going to move forward, whether it's with an attorney or not. With an attorney, best move. With the attorney, almost the only move for a real situation. And if you're moving without an attorney, as I've had done for a couple of years, even when rights have been violated, it's kind of how you proceed, how you act in court, and how you move forward for yourself. You have to have some peace. You have to have some serenity. You have to do things for yourself, even if it feels guilty, because you're like, man, how could I be okay? But sometimes you just have to learn how to be okay.
How can we as listeners, citizens, and believers support you in this?
Well, just, I guess in every situation, for everybody that's going through this, there's a reason why they're listening to this. So, on everything that you can do to support yourself in the situation, to not give up, to remember there are other people fighting. Like, I don't never think that it's just me fighting. When I started the Justice for Jemasia page, I was very skeptical, and I could have done it months before, but I didn't. I kind of waited to the last minute, which probably wasn't the good thing, but I didn't think that I would need that, because the hardest thing is putting yourself out there. And what I can say now, after putting myself out there, you got to be careful what you put out there. But I guess when you know that you stand strong in what you have, just make sure you have everything to back yourself up. But then also, make sure that you support other people too. That, like, for me, when I talk to other people, ever since I had this page, not that I ever thought that it was just me going through it, but being able to hear other people's stories when they contact me privately, and they give you that encouragement, or they share their story. And some of these, I can't even believe it. I've gotten like 18 or 19-year-olds that have come out of the system, where I have never even put that really out there too much, where I don't think that anybody would read. And someone says, I watched all your videos. That makes a difference. Go back. If you're doing something, like if you're putting out a GoFundMe, or you're putting out a page, or you're putting things out there, don't put it out there to get, like, I'm not putting it out there for sympathy, and I'm not putting it out there for people to feel sad. I'm bringing awareness, but I do the best I can, especially when I'm going through things, to respond to anybody that contacts me in messages, not the fake ones, the real ones. And I've had some real strong supporters, or some real people that have given me encouragement. And sometimes you think that this is like empty, or you think you're by yourself, but then you hear a story, and then someone has a similar one to you. That makes a difference, because you don't know how much that little bit of healing, that's that little bit of thing. So you couldn't make it to the beach today, but you went back and you looked at your messages and you said, wow, somebody still cares about what I'm doing, our cause. That's a big deal. It's not always about money. Yes, is a financial support going to help? Yeah, because there have been things that have happened. I cannot do that on my own. That is a part of what I can do for Jemasia. That's a big part of what I can do for her. But I think when you get some of those things, you need to keep pushing forward to say, well, I'm going to keep that GoFundMe, or to even like post updates. Like, it's hard to post an update, because, man, I will cry. Some people say you have to be the person. I hate being on camera. So just know that's why it's very hard to look into the camera. I'm very self-conscious. I hate it. But whatever I have to do in this point, and I guess that will help me do it. But I don't want to do it for a GoFundMe, because I don't want people to think it's about money. The things that I put out there are my personal business. That's personal reports, situations. I think you probably saw that already.
You have a GoFundMe, right?
Deal.
You do have a GoFundMe, right?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, no, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yes.
You're gonna share me that link, and I'm gonna put it in the description. You pretty much went over most of the questions. We never said the caseworker's name, though. I didn't know if you wanted to blast her, which is fine. But what I did want to say is, Jemasia's gonna watch this one day. Would you want to say anything for her, or to her, if she's watching?
Oh, goodness. Well, I'm sorry, Mama. Like, I've been crying for you, but I love you, and I know that you know what we're doing for this situation. And although some people say you don't know, you know all I can do for you. And I hate to think that you think, I hope that I'm never talking and saying that what you thought was going to happen to you happened to you. And all I can say is that I hope that as much as I believe and I pray that you're still going to be here because you're strong, because you put it out there, and because everything mommy did to believe in you is the reason why you're still alive. And if I didn't do that, then, well, you already know mommy, I wouldn't be able to sleep. But I know that everything that you've told me, I believe you no matter what anybody says, because I understand that you are so strong and you are amazing. And you know that mommy will only do what's best for you. And I've only taught you the things that you need to know to be the best person you can be, whether I'm here or not. And I love you so much.
It's awesome. So I actually did want to ask this question. I left it out for a second, but I'm going to go back into it. So how did it feel to be silenced by the mediator, Rachel Curtis?
Wow. That was, you know, one thing that happens in court is just all I can say is that because if you don't have an attorney or anybody, and to know that she's not telling the truth and your actions are going to reflect the judge looking at you a certain way, that was the most terrible feeling to know that there's an open case of domestic violence. The social worker did not report it, and I had nothing. I had nothing in front of me. It was so blindsided. And there's an open case of domestic violence, and I gave it not just to her, to the minors council, and I had a co-mediator, Brian Adams, that sat through this. And one thing that the minors council told me just not too long ago, she said, "Well, I did the ex parte," and I said the ex parte where you could have taken his rights. Yes, the same ex parte, but the mediator should have looked at it. But when we were in mediation, there's proof, and I have it. And they say, "Well, you can go to jail for a year." Well, okay, I'm willing to go to jail for a year if I recorded something that they didn't do, because what I can say is that perjury and paperwork is the same thing, and he should go to jail for more than that, right? What I have proof of, she had no idea. She never read the police report, or she didn't acknowledge it. Brian Adams is a senior mediator who was sitting there as well. And when we went to court, I had nothing against me, only the fact that I filed a report against her 3 months before that. And when I go to court, I lose my parental rights for nothing. And he has a domestic violence case, which the mediator, the minors council, Brian Adams, everybody should have said something about, and they didn't. All because I filed a report. So what can I say? I could say I was like, I literally I literally just cried. I really could. My mom got upset. I didn't want to do anything up until that point. But all I could say is there, when she submitted the documentation to show that everything I said was true, had nothing against me. There were a police report. He had an open case. When the minors council decided to do that after I did all the work, it was almost 5 months later, after not seeing my daughter for 5 months, after being looked at as a criminal, after like losing my job because I couldn't submit paperwork to show that nothing was against me. I have everything from Sam Dunlap, our place in the Department of Justice, nothing, and everything not being submitted on time. Social service admitting that their social worker did not do their job, but it's confidential that they've reprimanded her. But how did you reprimand somebody that caused me to lose so much? And everything that she's mandated as legally by law to report, to do, minors council, mediator, And then all because you guys don't like me because no, I'm not the crazy talking person. I just do things in paperwork. And I didn't say anything crazy. I said facts of your law, quoted their laws. To this day, I'm still waiting for the California Child Protective Services in Sacramento, who I've submitted a case to, and I've submitted it since 2023. Since this happened, they're still trying to figure it out, and I've had no response. No response, and I have everything to show. Like, I'm going to continue to upload things. All I can say is that, you know, any help that anybody can give, because at this point, it's more like trying to show that they didn't do their job. That's an appeals attorney. That's expensive. I've had things change in my life, which I'm not going to go into because I don't want nobody supporting that. Every day that Jemasia's in a situation, or every day that Jemasia has to live through something, is every day that she might not be here. And that's because people can go to sleep and feel okay about what they have not done or what they have done, and using my daughter as a tool of retaliation. And that's really what it comes down to. When you report people, when you know their job better than they do, when I've been able to get reports, when I've been able to do things I should not have been able to do. I can get, when things went to the district attorney, if I can do that, how come everybody else isn't doing that? The Minors Council, $71 an hour. Okay. If you're getting paid $71 an hour, what I have come across is people that have had the same Minors Council, which is Jamasia's attorney, who hasn't done anything. She lets cases go on, go on, go on. So is this after my daughter is damaged? If this is after my daughter is dead, that's, that's the thing. So, justice for Jemasia, anybody that can support it, anybody that thinks I could show the account. I have the account, everything that we've made for that. It isn't enough to get the kind of attorney that her dad has. Look him up. Lindsey Green. Lindsey Green. It's a guy, believe it or not. It's a guy, and he barks like a pit bull because I think maybe everybody thinks he's a girl. He has like a strong background. He's high paid. He's almost paid like $7,500 just to show up for court. Okay, and that's not doing paperwork. So I can't do that. I'm trying to maintain a 3-bed. I'm trying to maintain what I can for me and my child to have a safe position, and trying to, he has a significant other who's paying for these things. I'm not paying for those things because what I was told by the Minors Council, I shouldn't have to. He's had domestic violence. He's been arrested. In California, if you have had any kind of domestic violence within 5 years, before they even let Jemasia go with her dad, they were supposed to take that in consideration. And I have police reports on file, not because I said so. Pictures, judges that gave me a restraining order. They just didn't do it because I didn't have a voice. I didn't have a voice. I didn't need to have a voice. I only had an attorney one time during this whole process. So one thing I can say, if you know you're in a problem, get an attorney immediately, especially in California. Because in any position, if you don't have that, the laws, even if you know how to quote the laws, no judge, nobody's going to listen to you. All they're going to listen to is an attorney. And that's because they mostly talk even before they make a decision. That's what I've heard.
So what does justice for Jemasia look like?
Well, that would look like her voice being heard, like her safety being prioritized, like the truth being acknowledged. I think, but most of all, it would be like restoring her relationship with me, and making sure that, she's safe. Every child, it's just not her, but it's just like having a voice for every child that's trapped into the situation. And children, should not be in the situation. There's a lot of we're entrusted with a child's life, and we want them to have better. So I just think that we should ignore the truth, and we should fight for a system that's broken, and make sure that Jemasia has justice, and so do the other children that are suffering the same thing. Some people don't have the resources or the ability or the voice or even the knowledge. So we want to give them that. Just never stop fighting and prioritize their child.
Is there anything else you would like to add?
Well, just if you can, just share a story. Just, anybody can help, that's good. But also make sure that they speak out about the injustices because that's important. A silenced voice. People don't know that these things are going on, and it shouldn't be about the money you have, your background. As far as like, it's not something crazy, but people shouldn't judge you just because of monetary means or lack of having that support. But just make sure that people believe that when something is wrong, to make sure that they acknowledge it and don't allow it to happen, because that's how we have a damaged system and kids that have to suffer through things. And it's harder when you wait. So when you see something happen, you should probably report it or acknowledge it, do something about it.
Yeah, Kasia, I can promise you I'm going to share your story. And there's other mothers out there that I know will support you, and um, we'll hear. It's pretty emotional what you're dealing with, and it's raw, it's real, and it's it's happening to you, and it's happening to many others as well, right? And that's the whole point of this, is to shine light on that and to get your voice heard. So I can promise you I will share it, and I'll put the GoFundMe in there as well, and so people can help you donate whatever it is that you have specifically set up on there, and also they can get on there and see the case even more in depth, right? So, but I really appreciate you for coming on and telling your truth and speaking for your daughter. I think it takes a lot to do that, even getting, going through the emotional roller coaster of it, all that stuff. I commend you for that. I love you. I love your daughter, and I care for you, and I will continue to pray for you and pray for your daughter, and that she gets the justice that she deserves. I think that the system is broken. It's negative. It's dark, and there's a dark force behind it that's steering it. And there's demons that are in these people, and these people are walking around like and getting away with just anything, and it's not right. And they allow the other demonic, the other demonic stuff that's taking place to continue to take place instead of taking a stand for it. And that's exactly what Satan wants, right? And so I care about you guys, and I'm definitely going to put your story out there. And I appreciate you for coming on the podcast and telling it.
Well, thank you. I told myself I was going to try not to cry, but it's very emotional. It's very serious. But I'm so glad that there's at least some kind of platform, even if it's not reaching everybody, it will at some point.
Yeah.
And when it does, and just you taking the initiative to do it, because I don't think there's really any benefit or monetary means except probably something very personal and something, like I looked it up. So I'm thinking that you're doing this because you actually care about this cause and you know that this is a real situation. And there's a lot of people that either don't know it or don't know how to maneuver it. But I think every piece that you're going to do, where it's like bringing everybody's stories together, is going to make a difference. And someone that says, I just don't let them win. That's all I could say, because every time they make a move or every time you don't, that's your child being endangered or that's somebody else's paycheck. And I think that sometimes that's all people care about. But, I think that you're doing this for a good cause. I don't want to further get myself in trouble with the courts, but actually at this point, I don't think I care, because I know that I'm doing something to save my daughter. And if it's not my daughter, if I die tomorrow, then it's somebody else's child. It's somebody else that might have motivation from doing this. And that's why I did it. I just want them to never stop fighting. And I'm so thankful that you have some kind of outlet and some kind of position where it doesn't matter how many people hear it. Even if one person heard it out of five, it's better for someone to know. So don't stop fighting, because this is what happens, and that's what they expect you to do. They think you're going to give up. Somebody thinks you're going to give up, and your child is the most important thing of life. And this is so. I'm just so thankful to have the opportunity. So,
hey y'all, if you like this episode, just give us a share, like it, comment, or don't. Just watch and listen. My podcast is just meant to bring peace, love, and understanding towards others and bring awareness to what's going on in the darkness. I hope y'all enjoyed this. May God bless you in all your endeavors. I love y'all. I'm out.